I must say that was quite riveting, the way you read that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can imagine this as a play, having seen you perform the two parts there. Um, I might say that Fardeep is my favourite character in the book.
yeah.
He is
Hmm.
a big character, um, and very charming. Um, I wonder, there's a really good scene in it where he, I think you know the one I'm going to.
But right at the beginning, near the beginning, yeah.
This is a great scene where he demonstrates how to bowl a ball with an onion bhaji, I think it is. And he's demonstrating different spins. It's quite cleverly written, and it shows that you know the what you're talking about, the actual technical side of cricket. I think when
Yeah,
actually you are quite technical in quite a lot of it, especially when you're talking as far deep in the book. I mean, it
yes,
seems like you do know your stuff. So
yeah.
I think cricket aficionados would be quite,
Mm.
pleased that that's there. But in terms of writing the different characters, did you have a favourite character to write?
With the first person, the reader identifies with you more, and you get trapped with the reader in the tale.
Yes,
Um,
yeah. So that would be Jeremy in this
that's right. Yes.
main protagonist.
Yeah. So that's why I liked why I wrote it in the first person, and using parts of characters in the past that I knew. There's an old friend of mine um, uh, who I don't know if he's still alive now, but he was an Indian poet, and he was very sort of theatrical. And part of his personality I've used to create Fardeep.
Right. That would be why he's such a well-rounded sort of
Yes,
character.
that's right.
You really feel like you've met him when you read
Yes,
the book. And I mean, I think that's what a lot of writers do, isn't it? They take
yeah,
from their own life, almost
mm,
like ingredients, and they cook a cake with them in the book.
yes,
Yeah, but it is. Fardeep, I just wondered if I could ask you about the charm
yes.
Fardeep teaches Jeremy, because that in chapter 17 there's his charm. Could you say something about that?
Right. Well, Fardeep has to try to make Jeremy concentrate more and believe, and give him a lot of sense of self-belief. So he teaches him a very fast way in which he can sort of go straight into a kind of meditation mode,
Ah,
and which he can get into the zone, into his own bubble. And if you're batting, then the idea of the skill is that you are in a bubble, so you don't reach for balls that are way outside you can't, that you'll make an error with because they're too far away to control. So he has to bring Jeremy into this zone. So he gives him this charm, which is like a plastic sort of ring that he can stare deeply and uses a lot of suggestion to make him feel as though he's in this ring, and his mind is inside the charm with him and protected. It's actually Fardeep got them and bought them in bulk from people who are selling them around the Amritsar temple for a few cents each.
right. So it has a power, but it's not a valuable.
No, that's right.
That is a very interesting point in the book, because it seems there that cricket and psychology come together in that object, don't they?
Yes,
You
that's
just
right.
illustrated it there, and you're talking about cricket, and you're talking obviously with a lot of experience from your psychology background as well.
Yeah,
In a way, reading the book is a bit meditative, isn't it? And playing cricket is quite meditative.
it is. Yes.
It's a long afternoon, often of slow sort of action. Again, in a good way, where you can get into
Yeah.
the zone of the speed of the sport.
Yeah, that's right.
Was that intentional when you picked up the idea of writing a cricket novel?
Well, no, I think I was just trying to. I suppose it was the easiest sport for me because it's not a lot much to do. You feel as though you're active, but you don't do a great deal. although you quickly found out when you do have to do something.
So I'm going to take a 90-degree turn right now.
Yes, okay.
To zoom out a little bit from your novel, and I'd like to ask you perhaps a little bit more about what inspired you to write. And I've prepared you for this, which is a little segment that we're trying to do regularly, which is called Power of Five.
Yes.
So this is where I ask the writer that I'm interviewing to bring along 5 books that have had some power over them, and for different reasons, and perhaps have inspired them.
Yes. Well, I think the fundamental one is The Go-Between by L.P. Hartley. Because of the way it's told in the first person, someone looking back in recollection, and it's gripping all the way through, and there's intrigue.
A young adult book, or
it's an adult to young adult book.
A current one, or was that written?
No, that's written quite some time ago by L.P. Hartley, who was a journalist. A novelist, and the central character there is a young boy who unwittingly, because he's naive, takes messages between 2 illicit lovers. So, and then it develops. He suddenly becomes aware of what he's done.
What's your next selection in Power of Five?
Sherlock Holmes.
One of my favourites.
Yes. I like this Sherlock Holmes character. This not quite a Superman, but fallible, but also with powers that you yourself might be able to possess if you'd like to bother to develop them.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, superpowers that don't need to be made up. They're available to every man if they will put in the time.
That's right. Yeah.
I recently looked at some of the books that have sold the most copies in history, and Arthur Conan Doyle's Sherlock Holmes was one of them.
Yes.
So one of the, I don't know my statistics, but one of the top 20 best-selling of all time or whatever, which is quite an accolade. I find them also very comforting and comfortable, sort of familiar. Those books, but and you can almost sort of sit yourself in his study, can't you?
Right.
I always imagine wood-panelled walls for some reason while I'm in.
Yeah, Victorian, dark. Yes.
So that's a marvelous. So what sort of power does that have over you? That book, those series of books. Sorry.
It's inspirational, isn't it? It feels as though you can do anything he can do, if only you put your mind to it.
I see.
And you can get out your chair. You don't have to get out of your armchair. You can, turn the page over and read the next one if you like. Your Holmes.
Fantastic. What's your third selection?
Any of the Jeeves stories by P.G. Wodehouse.
You're just listing my favourite books today.
Well, we'll see what you like the other 2 as well. Anyway, the inimitable Jeeves is good because I can hardly say it. And the humour of it, and the almost like the farcical quality, and how they actually could make Worcester could make such a mess of things, and yet how Jeeves, working behind the scenes, will solve it all. So no matter how much, it's comforting. It's a kind of bread and pudding, custard kind of novel, because no matter how much you'll mess your life up, that's working behind the scenes somewhere. There's a Jeeves working for you who can sort it all out.
What an amazing comment! I'd never thought of it like that. I particularly got into it through the Stephen Fry, Hugh Laurie series, ITV series, and I saw Hugh Laurie being interviewed actually about, I think about his influences and things, and he mentioned P.G. Wodehouse, and I think what he said was quite similar to what you were saying in regards to it's a very comforting style of writing and story.
Yeah, that's right.
Perhaps if when he wasn't feeling very sort of positive or very jovial, he could
Yeah.
turn to that almost like a therapy almost. So
Yes, that's right. Yes.
it's very strong for that. So up to number 4. What's your 4th choice?
That's a more modern one. The Unlikely Pilgrimage of Harold Fry
I've heard of that one. Yes.
by Rachel Joyce. And she's a very skilled and famous writer and written a lot of radio stuff. And this is the story of, once again, a man who is, although this is written in the third person, it's about a man who is trapped into doing something, which is he goes to post a letter to someone who's an old pal. He's quite aged himself, to an old friend who's liable to die soon. And he realizes that the letter just isn't enough. And what he'll do is he won't post it in this post box. He'll post it in the post box down the road. He'll take a moment to think about it. And then eventually he decides the best thing to do is actually go and see her. So he starts this enormous journey, this pilgrimage from the breadth of England to try to reach this woman before she dies.
So what sort of power over you did that particular?
Well, the accomplishment of having been sort of psychologically trapped of your own volition into like an escapade about whether it will work or not, and then the sense of accomplishment at the end. I don't know if I should give the spoiler away by saying.
I don't think you should. No.
Okay. Well, it's a very interesting ending anyway. That's
okay. Well, we'll have to read it. What's your final choice?
The final one is a book. Is a play which appears in a book form, and there's a lot of poetry in it, and it's called Under Milkwood by Dylan Thomas.
Yes, that's very famous.
Yes, that's right. And I've won at least one reading competition when I was younger, by reading the opening scene, what they call the first voice. And I was very much impressed by all the characters there, and also by the setting that the Stan Tracy quartet had done in setting it to music, to jazz.
Yes.
It's there.
I've heard of the Stan Tracy quartet. I've never heard
Yeah.
that. Was it who was it who's famous for reading that?
Well, it was Donald Houston, who I think appeared with the quartet. But the famous reader was Richard Burton.
I thought so, yeah, Richard Burton.
Authoritative reading of it at the beginning.
Well, thank you for giving us your Power of 5. That's
yes, okay.
A window into your sort of likes and enjoyments of reading, which is important to your own writing.